Beirut/United Nations, Reuters, a new wave of bombs struck Syria trademark eastern Ghouta district unabated on Friday, witnesses said, ahead of a UN Security Council vote to demand a 30-day ceasefire to end one of the deadliest bombing campaigns of the 7-year civil war. For a sixth straight day, warplanes flown by government forces and their allies have pounded the densely populated enclave east of Damascus, the last rebel bastion near the capital. The civilian casualties and devastation there are among the worst in Syria since the government captured rebel-held parts of Aleppo in intense fighting in 2016. At least 462 people have been killed and many hundreds injured, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights Monitoring Group says. The dead include at least 99 children. Syrian state media reported one person was killed and 58 injured from rebel shelling of sites in Damascus, including a hospital. Eyes were on Moscow, and whether President Bashar al-Assad trademark's veto-wielding ally would support the Security Council trademark's draft ceasefire resolution, block it, or seek to water it down in a way that would let bombing go on. The vote, which could clear the way for aid deliveries and medical evacuations, was postponed until later on Friday, a diplomat said amid a flurry of last-minute negotiations on the text drafted by Sweden and Kuwait. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said earlier on Friday that Moscow wanted guarantees that rebel fighters will not shoot at residential areas in Damascus. Previous ceasefires have a poor record of ending fighting in Syria, and Russia has a history of blocking Security Council measures that would harm Assad trademark's interests. Syria trademark's government, with its allies Russia, Iran, and Shia Euroite militias, has often used the tactic of pushing rebels to surrender their strongholds after long sieges and military offensives. Insurgents in eastern Ghouta have vowed not to accept such a fate, ruling out an evacuation of fighters, their families, and other civilians of the kind that ended rebellion in Aleppo and Homs after heavy bombardment in earlier years. We refuse categorically any initiative that includes getting the residents out of their homes and moving them elsewhere, Ghouta rebel factions wrote in a letter to the Security Council on Friday. Eastern Ghouta has 400,000 people spread over a larger area than other enclaves the government has recaptured. Late on Thursday, government aircraft dropped leaflets urging civilians to depart and hand themselves over to the Syrian army, marking corridors through which they could leave safely. Ceasefire attempts. Medical charities say jets have hit more than a dozen hospitals, making it nearly impossible to treat the wounded. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said government warplanes and artillery hit Douma, Zamaka and other towns across the enclave in the early hours of Friday. There was no immediate comment from the Syrian military. A witness in Douma who asked not to be identified said by telephone that the early morning bombing was the most intense so far. Another resident, in the town of Hamouria, said the assault had continued like the other days. Whenever the bombing stops for some moments, the civil defense vehicles go out to the targeted places. They work to remove the debris from the road, Bilal Abu Salah said. The civil defense there said its rescuers rushed to help the wounded after strikes on Hamouria and Sakba. The emergency service, which operates in rebel territory, says it has pulled hundreds of people from under rubble in recent days. Damascus and Moscow say they only target militants. They have said their main aim is to stop rebel shelling of the capital, and have accused insurgents in Ghouta of holding residents as human shields. Hamza Berkdar, the military spokesman for the Jaish al-Islam rebel faction, said it had thwarted 9 attacks by pro-government militias trying to storm a front in the southeast of Ghouta. The towns and farms of eastern Ghouta have been under government siege since 2013, with shortages of food, water, and electricity that worsened last year. The UN envoy for Syria has pleaded for a truce to prevent a massacre. Staffan de Mistura renewed his call on Friday to stop both the horrific heavy bombardment of besieged eastern Ghouta and indiscriminate mortar shelling on Damascus. The resolution to be considered by the Security Council does not cover Islamic State, Al-Qaeda and the Nusra Front, which Moscow and Damascus say they have targeted in eastern Ghouta.